Well, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'll try to manage this, moderate this session, and I would like to thank you very much for being with us. I am Mesut Ozdol, and welcome once again. I'd like to thank you very much for supporting us and giving us this opportunity to become together here. Excuse me. While we were trying to figure out the issues with respect to Russian and Ukrainian war, now we are face to face with Palestinian-Israeli war. So what is going to happen? We are going to try to answer the questions in this panel with my dear panelists. Now, without further ado, I'd like to invite our panelists. I'd like to introduce Kürşat Aynaz from Çolakoğlu Metallurgy, pipe profile and secondary producer, sales manager, and Asuman Gürsoy, General Secretary of the Cold Rolling and Galvanized Producers Association. Gökhan Mercanlı, Vice Director Manager, Director General from Purchasing, Coşkun Öz Metal Form, and Mehmet Çakmur from Kocaer Çelik. He is the member of the board. I'd like to welcome you all, and I'd like to give you some brief information with respect to developments, and later on I'll start with some questions. So if you allow me, I'll start with you, Mr. Kürşat. Kürşat Bey. So as an important player of the flat steel company sector, so can you talk about Çolakoğlu Metallurgy's investment procedures, processes with figures, and how was 2023 in respect to targets of your company? Well, I'd like to thank SteelOrbis family for bringing us together. I'd like to congratulate our 100th anniversary of our republic, and our founding father and his comrades. I'd like to commemorate their souls with respect and love. Çolakoğlu Metallurgy, on behalf of our family, I'd like to welcome you all once again. Çolakoğlu Metallurgy, in 2023, in terms of tonnage, was 3 million tons of sales and shipment. We can sell and make the shipment. This is the production number. But the production number was around 2.8, 2.9. Well, let's say 3 million tons of production and delivery. And when it comes to exportation of 2023, in the beginning of 2023, exportation was not very good. While I started my job in 2018, exportation was around 40%, 50%. But yeah, we were having the effects of the anti-dumping taxation of Europe and the United States. These numbers decreased down to 15%. But in the last quarter, we rose up to 30% again. Exportation number increases. In addition to this, with respect to investments, I'd like to mention another thing. So for 2024, our secondary slab furnace was commissioned. Well, it is not going to be 3 million tons anymore. Now 4.5 million tons is available. And as of September, we have activated our secondary slab furnace. Yes, 4.5 million. Along with the steel mill, it is 3 million, and 1.5 million is from outside. Well, actually, it was 6 million. And currently, we can make production equals to 4.5 million, and yes, 4 million is our target. Inshallah, hopefully, it's going to happen as you imagine. You can reach your targets. Well, yes, Asuman, we know that steel sector is going through a very challenging period. In the segment that you represent, in the cold milled and galvanized sector, what is the situation? Can you please elaborate on some of the issues with highlighting some numbers? In galvanized sector, we know that there is huge investment and demand and supply balance. When you take this into consideration, what are the issues that you would like to mention? And can you please give some information about your association very briefly? Well, I'd like to thank all the speakers and participants and organizers. Yes, I am one of the Iron Women celebrating the 100 years of our republic. Well, if you wish, I can talk about our association. SOGAT, which is the abbreviation of our association, died and quote sheet metal is produced by us, and we are gathered together to talk about the issues of our sector, to solve the problems, and how we can go further in a better way. We try to come up with solutions, and we also talk with our hot producers and steel service providers to put some standards. So if you wish, I can talk about cold and galvanized numbers. Well, currently 9 million ton is our milling capacity on the cold, and 3.5 million is for milling again, and 1.6 million tons is for the dyed metal sheet. 2 million ton of cold rolled was produced, and at the end of the year, 2.5 million will be consumed and 2.5 million will be produced. On the galvanized steel sheet, 3.5 million tons were produced. In 2022, 3.1 million tons. It was again realized at the end of the year. In 2023, 3 million tons were produced, or we expect to have 3.5 million, and 3.4 million will be consumption number. And on the dyed metal sheet, in 2021, 421 million and 500 million was produced, and 400,000 will be dyed production, and consumption will be closer to this number. If you wish, I can talk about vertical use and consumption of the metal sheet. So 10.5 million tons were produced, 13 million tons were consumed, and 10 million will be production, and 9 million will be consumption. This is the vertical use, by the way. Well, the real production is over than this. If you wish, we can talk about realized exportation and importation number. On the cold importation, 1,023 million tons. And top three countries, Russia, China, South Korea. And as of 9th month of 2023, 192 tons of them were imported, China, Russia, and South Korea. In 2022, 556,000 exported, USA, Romania, and EU. And as of September 2023, 341,000 cold were exported, Ukraine, Romania, and on the galvanized in 2020, 866,000 were exported, 180,000 were internally milled, South Korea and China and Belgium. And as of 2023, September, 12,000 was important, South Korea, Belgium, and China. Exportation in 2022, 1 million tons were exported. Russia, Spain, and the USA. As of September 2023, 534,000 were exported, Romania, Ukraine, and Canada. On undyed sheet metal, 20% of it was internally milled, China, Italy, and South Korea. And as of September 2023, 74,000 was importation, China, Italy, and South Korea. Exportation, 265,000 was exported, 99,000 was exported. Romania, Egypt. Yes, this is the numbers that I can read. Thank you so much, Asuman. Well, if I'm not mistaken, if I have not misheard you, it is almost 6 million tons of investment, right? However, production here is around 3 million. So it's almost 50% idle capacity, right? Well, yes, that is correct. And there is going to be additional two investments, inshallah. Hopefully at the end of this year, Turkish galvanized will be commissioned and Tak Metals galvanized investment will be commissioned. Inshallah, we're going to do it. It seems that our trouble is very big. We have to sort out exportation problems. Well, that is correct. Cold rolled and galvanized sector has huge investment and importation pressure, and if it creates problems, then they are going to turn their face towards domestic production. Here, the real triggering issue is that hot producers should make good productions, and they should believe that they have a good, stable production. And when these days come, they should be prepared and ready. But you are right, yes, there is a surplus of capacity, and maybe upcoming investments should be made in line with capacity and need analysis. But we believe that when we overcome problems with respect to exportation, if these lines are prepared, we are going to get benefit. Thank you very much. Gökhan, from automotive industry, we know that automotive industry is one of the important customers of the steel industry. So compared to competitive global conditions, our sector is pushed to improve further. And Coşkun Metal Form is an important supplier of automotive industry. And in time, I'm not sure whether you have affected this change. And by considering your 2023 targets, what would you like to say? Well, thank you so much. First of all, I'd like to thank SteelOrbis family and all the organizers for bringing us together in this organization. Thank you so much. This is the centenary of our republic. We are celebrating it all together. It is inaudible now. Mic is not on. There is a problem with the mic of the speaker. Well, Coşkun Metal Form, let me talk you through this on. Coşkun Metal Form belongs to Coşkun family companies. Actually, this is the flag carrier. It was established by late Coşkun. So he used to say, if I do something, I should do it in the best way. This is his motto back then. And we currently make our production for Turkey. Since that days onwards, starting from automotive, aviation, computation, and logistics sector, we have 13,000 employees. We contribute to Turkish economy. Coşkun Metal Form company is 100% local Turkish capital company, and as of 1986, it's been providing pressed materials for automotive sector, exterior surface, chassis, and batteries in EV vehicles. All the components that can create the main body of an automobile could be produced in our company. We have 76,000 square meters of area, and we have 1,000 workers. We have 55 years of experience, and we are the market leader in our country. A lot of local and global suppliers are our partners. We work with OEMs and other companies and customers. Coşkun Metal Form company is available in 5 continents and 17 countries. we provide strategic business partnerships to different partners. So when it comes to the second part of your question, like other sectors that are active in this sector, from time to time, we can feel the difficulties going on in the country, but we try to take actions by developing change projects to meet the needs of the dynamism of the automotive sector, because it's very dynamic, it leads all the changes, it produces projects to further develop its partners. And we are all aware of the needs of the sector, and we work with our stakeholders to develop our sector together with them. For instance, we try to create sustainable difference with our producers and products in order to decrease carbon emission. We will still continue our discussions with the sheet metal producers to decrease the emissions. And we also work with sheet metal producers to make system integrations, and we create projects to manage big data, fast access to data, talk about the same things, and having the same language and business development. These are our main priorities. In Bursa's Coşkun Öz location, we consumed 110,000 sheet metals. Based on the forecasted budgets, we believe that we're going to realize the same consumption. There could be some deviations on a monthly basis, but thanks to the diversification effect of our customers, we can realize the planned budget items. Thank you so much. Well, thank you very much again. By the way, I'd like to emphasize one thing. While you were speaking, you kind of reminded of me something, because I asked you how do you cope with some challenges, difficulties in the country, in the sector. But I know that these challenges can also trigger the development, especially when you do exportation, providing new quality production. They can create an advantage in your exportation, because I have experienced this by myself, and automotive sector is open to these changes, and these difficulties can make you develop further. And those challenges could be felt by the suppliers. Yes, Mehmet Bey. Can you please talk about your 2023 sales targets and how have you reached them? Can you please give some information to us? Well, the mic is inaudible again. Well, I'd like to thank all the sponsors. Well, of course, there's a big effect. Kocaer Steel has been founded by Kocaer family, and it produces profile in 3 different mills, and it has 60 years of experience in the sector. And other than this 120,000 galvanized line and 100,000 tons of steel service center, it provides services to different sectors. In line with their needs, we produce materials for them. So if I'm to list the sectors, I can say that energy sector and solar energy works. This is also very popular, as you all know. High voltage line works, and in the mining sector and automotive sector, and yes, we produce our products and materials for these sectors. Since the establishment of the sector, we have always lived for our motto, which is exportation. Export is our first priority, and at least 75% of our production is exported. And in order for us to make this export sustainable, 10 years ago, we established a distribution channel, Kocar Steel UK. In the UK and in Ireland, you could serve your customer till their doorstep, and inshallah, we're going to increase it further in the future. 33% of our energy is sustainable energy derived, and in a couple of years, all of our energy will be provided with this investment. And green steel is of this moment our hot topic. Sustainability, is it solar or else what is it? Yes, we have solar, and in 2022, our company was open to listed in the stock exchange, so we are transparent. So everything is public, everything is announced in each and every quarter. And we have also geothermal investment. Currently, we are working on it. Well, like I mentioned, more than 75% of our materials are exported. It's inaudible again. 240 countries. We make exportation. In order to make it sustainable, we continuously work. We have a very strong team. We carry on our works thanks to them. So if I'm to talk about our targets in 2023, we can reach to our budgeted tonnage level. Our production is almost 600,000 tons. And this year, we are going to realize our targets. This is what we believe, because there is a month to finish the year. Yes. Yes, I believe we're going to make it happen unless there is any problem. Of course, we're going to make it happen in 2024. Well, including 2022, it's been an increase, and we are going to continue with this increase. Inshallah, in 2024, our capacity will be increased further, and we will continue. This year, we have renewed one of our mills, factories, and in 2024, our second factory will be renewed, while our facilities, all of them, will be embedded with the latest technology, and they are made ready for the future. I think I've answered your questions well. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. As far as I understand, you are open to innovations all the time, and you make investment on the areas that require innovation. Energy area is one of the troublesome areas. Currently, we are suffering a lot, and you have investments. We believe that we are going to grow. I hope that everything goes in the way that you want. Kürşat, let's continue again. Globalization in the steel market has been finalized, I guess. We are currently witnessing revolutionary changes are happening. These are the things that I have memorized. I guess you all know these terms by heart, right? If I'm not mistaken, 6 or 7 years ago, majority of us really believed in globalization and free trade, fair trade, and comparable superiority. We knew these concepts, these terms, and we knew their positive impacts over the world's trade volume. So what happened that we see a change in today's conditions and in the markets? So the normals have changed as we are accustomed to, and price volatility in the steel industry has increased tremendously. These issues have changed the trend in the markets. When we consider them, what would you like to say about their reasons and consequences? Well, is it something internal, or else is it something related to geopolitical situations or regional issues? What is the reason? And are we going to confront with similar factors from now on more frequently? Directly or indirectly, steel production and consumption sector, how is it going to be affected? It's a rather long question, but what can you say? Well, globalization Well, if I'm to answer the first question, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk uttered a sentence for the first development plan. Each factory, each mill is a castle. Well, if I adopt this sentence to today's conditions, now each country has turned themselves into a castle. And Typhoon Bay has already mentioned this. In the United States, with Trump, all the countries were implemented 50% anti-dumping. They protected their own people, and with this, they gave the taxation to whole world. And with some political reasons, they changed it, but 25% for Turkey still continued. It is not because of us, actually. It is something political. Why? It is because they are afraid of us. Yes, most probably this is correct. All the exportations maybe are disturbing. Maybe they did it for this reason. And let's go to the Europe. So throughout Europe, there was this, as you all know, a trade agreement with Europe since 1965. And in 2018, 2019, export to Europe was very strong. And after seeing that, they implemented anti-dumping to all Turkish producers. The reason was to exclude Turkey out of this picture. Yes, okay, we were excluded. When we talk to them, we can see China, Vietnam, and Far East countries. They are there. Did they reach their successful position? No, they didn't. So there are fluctuations on the raw material prices. Because of that reason, countries try to protect themselves. They put some safeguarding measures and scrap. People and countries, they try to divide taxation on scrap, or they avoid from giving scrap. And there is this Russian and Ukrainian war. I forgot to say this. After this war, we currently check one thing. Since Russia, in spite that Russia is in war, their production has increased, but Turkey's production decreased by 8.8%. There is only one reason for this. There are strong internal dynamics of Russia, but it's not the reason. Russia gives this slab to China, and from China, it is shipped to all over the world. Well, there are a lot of games that are played. There are things that we do not know, do not see at all, and this is spread all over the world with those scenarios that we haven't heard of. How we can prevent this? This is the main question. Well, we should provide added value production with our own internal dynamism. And the mills and factories, the producers, we should come together hand in hand, and we should be a self-sufficient country. If we can do this, I believe we can prevent those problems, or else each and every year, worse conditions are awaiting. Well, yes, future is not going to be all sunshine and very bright, but the thing that I'd like to emphasize is that conditions are changing very fast. 5 to 6 years ago, around 10 years ago, maybe we really believed in liberalization or free trade. We believed in them. However, yeah, now we were to give materials to Europe and we were to sell it to the United States. We were talking about this, but all the balances were disrupted in the last 5 to 6 years, along with the wars. Protectionism was chosen by states. And quotas were not the things that could be held on to, and green energy, low carbonization, and taxation over those carbon prices, it's going to be much more difficult in the future. So we have to produce added value products. We should be working with our business partners, customers, industrialists We should enable added value production and decrease import and increase export, or else we should be self-sufficient with our own internal dynamics. So at the end, we could prevent the damages. Thank you.
Any different ideas? As an addition, well, this sector indeed has found itself in a multi-polarization, multi-crisis, and multi-competition arena. So, I mean, doing business in terms of uncertainty is what this sector is strong about, and they're trying to add value because we're operating in a world whereby opportunities as well as threats are together with each other, go hand in hand with each other. So we should definitely guarantee our future. So for that reason, we have to create a strategy. So in that respect, companies actually are trying to manage the impact of destruction on their sector, toppled up on their sector. So yes, well, this is as if everything is against us. We as Turkey, sometimes we take things on ourselves. But when I look at the numbers a bit, for instance, the World Steel Organization yesterday on their list in 2012, the Asian region was manufacturing 59% of the steel. Today, they have increased 70%. So the steel's route has changed. We kept really minor in this production arena. So, um, so not much has changed. So in the world, there is around about 400 million tons of exports. So maximum, it has gone up to 460 million. Minimum, it has gone down to 407 kind of million, like in approximately since 1975. I mean, in 2016 it was 458, and the last year it was 401 million. So this is the total steel and iron exports. So what I'm trying to say is that the cake is not growing actually. Yes, the capacity is increasing approximately like from 1.5, it is shot up to 2 billion within 10 years, but the exports share does not increase. Everybody is trying to increase their capacity in order to protect their own industry, and within this scope of protectivism, they try to, this shows us in different ways, like anti-dumping, 25% of tax whatsoever. So in that respect, this capacity increase, we've actually forgotten, which advanced Mr. Barış, as to how much more increase we should be anticipating, because in Far East, Indonesia, Malaysia, continuously new investment is being carried out, which is increasing the capacity. So other countries, in order to protect their steel sectors, through different means, they will do different work, of course. Well, I agree with Mr. Kürşat. This impact will never come to an end. We are evolving into a more challenging world because the export share, as I said, is not increasing. I mean, the slices of the cake, everybody is trying to get a slice, grab a slice from that cake. So we need like more different strategies and initiatives in order to grow this cake, this market. So the reason for this exports not increasing, is it like the consumption increasing domestically? Well, of course, balances are a bit different in our country. For instance, in Turkey, like we try to manufacture 10 and export 5. There is this balance in Turkey, which is not that sustainable. I mean, yes, I agree with Mr. Kürşat in one way, because like 50% of exports, I mean, if we sustain it, it would be really great, of course. We, as a company, we do 70% of it. Hopefully, Turkey will do the same, like 70%, but that is not a kind of a sustainable method. So in that respect, either we will have to change our methods, or else we're going to like lose in exports, because it's not that, okay, when we exit these countries, do not buy any material at all. No, I mean, between two countries, there is 40 to 50 million decrease. But our costs, because of our costs, actually, we have difficulty in exporting. That's the problem. I mean, there is no shrinkage in the exports market. So our costs, I mean, yes, if it lives up to normal levels, yes. So, but it will never be easy, of course. I mean, would we also have done the same exports? Well, so the problem is on our side. Yes, it's on our side, especially in 2023. By the way, the European Union, its internal dynamics have not been promising because within the European Union, the engine of the European Union is Germany, and their prices sometimes was really devastating. 600 euros, 610 euros. It was not exceeding Italy, for instance, for a very long period of time. But that's one thing. But in terms of our sales, well, anti-dumping, because they levy anti-dumping between 5 to 7% to Turkish producers. You quote a price, yes, it's okay, welcome, but then they want us to lower the price, then your sales capability decreases. So in that respect, yes, we as Turkey, just like Mr. Mehmet has mentioned, yes, once they exclude us, were they able to carry out? Yes, because China, Vietnam, India, Japan, they entered the market, but while doing so, actually, they went with really cheap prices. I mean, they were not like normal, ordinary prices. But in order to sell, of course, I mean, they have to enter with low numbers, of course, that's for sure. But our work is difficult. So what are we going to do? Are we going to export to Africa? But there is one thing that we have to discuss here. Our steel exports, we should not be discussing that. I mean, if you follow the World Steel Union has got this really good work, which is called the indirect steel exports. Yes, I mean, maybe not as hot plate, but machinery, for instance, is manufactured and sold. So indirectly, we have to actually increase the sector, I mean, expand the sectors who use steel, actually. So there has been a report issued all the way up to 2019. China, 95 million ton of steel it exports, which means it sells automotive machinery, for instance, equipment, and 95 million ton of steel is indirectly being exploited. And then which is followed by 32 million ton of indirect steel exports. So there is nothing which has declined. So our indirect steel exports is only 8 million ton. Of course, this is 2019 data. We don't have the latest data, but what we have to dwell on is like indirect steel, whereby steel is included in a material, in a commodity. And we should be analyzing on this. Well, Mehmet, I would like to now chip in. Yeah, we were going to discuss this, but I mean, as an addition, you are really valid. Yes, our exports is low, indirect exports, but the sectors that are going to do exports, they want to supply it by importing the product for raw material, for instance, automotive, white household good, and then but of course, they are really valid also because they seek for cheap prices. So, although when it comes to steel production, we are in the leading positions, but we are ranked the eighth, and we are also importing a lot. So, what urges us for import? Is it like to be competitive, or else between the supplier and users? The lack of sustained and reliable relations. So at the end of October, for instance, on the official gazette, there was an announcement: China, India, Japan, Russia, hot rouleau plate. An anti-dumping investigation has kickstarted, and between 1st of Feb 2020, 6th of June 2023. So at the end of this investigation, the decision will be adopted. So the impact of this decision on the Turkish steel industry. Let's hear your comment on this, because this is kind of a problematic situation. Yes, by the way, first of all, especially in 2023, the hot plate import soared a lot. It's because of the earthquake disasters. We didn't know when the facilities would come under operation again, and from Far East import took place. And then, but this is carried on, of course, because our local producers, their costs were increasing. They were not able to quote competitive prices. Because of that, yes, our exports market, we were losing on our exports market, and we have to give in a lot in order to enter those markets. That's why we sought for appropriate input, because their labor cost is low, energy cost is low. They don't need raw material, they have the source, the means. That's why they can quote really competitive prices. If I cannot manufacture with competitive prices, then I cannot compete, of course. And the exporters abroad, actually, they've even provide materials to end users just on the brink of it being used immediately. And they give the grade that the customers want, with the necessary amount, at the necessary date. So they directly supply the customers, meeting their needs, but because of the conditions, we carry on with the hot egg import. And of course, if you've got a local producer next to you, you wouldn't actually be going into the trouble of LC freight. But this is not the desirable situation, but the necessity of our country, because the alternative cost does not compensate actually this import. Of course, all countries, they want to protect themselves. We also want to protect ourselves. We shouldn't be an open market, but it's impossible for us to seize the import 100%. And you would only have a triplet plate and production here, and be devastating each other in that respect. So our hot producers are and cold producers, it's not that they've got a lack of communication or else a relation. It's just because of the conditions, given conditions. And after this investigation, I don't think that taxes will be increased, because each time they increase the tax, the domestic prices increase, and this increases import also, despite all the case. So, but people prefer these producers because the conditions challenge them. That is not their desire, of course. So at the end of this investigation, most probably, yes, it will be finalized, but I wonder what it will change. I don't think that it would have a positive impact that much. Hopefully, I will, and this is my misperception, but I mean, of course, I don't think that it would totally put an end to imports, maybe decrease it a bit. So how many dollars would that be at the end of this anti-dumping investigation? Well, Aslı, I mean, supposing that it's $20, is it? No, it's too dumping. No, I mean, local producers, we give like $20, $30 willingly. So locals then wouldn't increase the price that much and would be more conveniently sell domestically. Imports will then be higher. But let's lower all the tax, make it zero. But let's not make our market a dump market. this anti-dumping discussion is a method which is not used in the country. I mean, under normal conditions, it's not. This anti-dumping, we should not be discussing it. If a country uses this as a method and sells their products, low price products, it is a rightful decision for countries to take a precaution against this. We should not even be discussing this, but of course, we should be balancing this between the interests of the country and the protection of the country. Well, I think that we should be dealing this within ourselves. I mean, I wonder, I mean, it would impact, but automotive sector, white household good, hot, cold, sisters, they should come together and discuss this. For instance, with internal processing, we have to actually knock on the door of the ministry. We have to find a solution and share that with the ministry based on our common interest, based on common expectations. I'm sure that we would definitely be solving. I think the workshop should be carried out. Well, Mr. Kürşat, first of all, giving the floor to you. I agree with Ms. Asuman, but what I would like to say here is that especially we as Çolakoğlu, we're not against imports, of course. It is doable because all companies, it's impossible for us to compensate the material needs. I mean, 20 million tons of flat is important, for instance. What I'm trying to underline here is that what country wants to dump, they send their products here. China, for instance, 2 years ago, up till 2 years ago. I mean, with COVID, let me tell you, maybe 100,000 ton was the annual import of China, I mean, to Turkey, but now it's 3.3 million ton of steel it has sent in the first 9 months, and 2.7 of them is flat. So, and looking at the material prices, I mean, it's $100 less than the producers here. So, I mean, if we're able to compete with competitive prices, yes, they could be sending their products. But whatever country that is, for instance, sometimes it's India, sometimes Taiwan, sometimes Vietnam, and sometimes other countries. And so when they want to dump and they just sell the product here and then they just go off. So in this place should not be that cheap. I mean, if you're able to enter with such cheap prices, I mean, up to a year ago, for instance, a month ago, they were selling products much cheaper than our cost price. That is what we are emphasizing. As long as it is sold, it's not sold under our cost. Of course, we have to protect the producers as well. Of course, increasing the prices is not the right approach all the time. So we have to protect industrialists here and also the producers. Yes, and also consumers. Well, yes, but if we've got the opportunity, we can increase the price without minding anybody. Yes, but here, in front of all the audience here, I would like to underline that this is not a pleasant situation. Yes, for sure. But when it comes, I've experienced price volatility, like within 5 minutes, you end the call, then another customer calls you, and then the other one, like 3 million wants 3,000, they want 10,000, and 20,000 wants 50,000. Everybody tries to take their positions, and you cannot get on top of it because you've got a certain capacity. So automatically, I mean, the prices go up. Yes, in terms of automotive, I would like to answer these two questions. Well, we said value added products. Here, if we think of an automotive group, around about 15 to 20%, we have to use imports plates. And because of special processes, if we cannot buy these, we cannot manufacture a car, then we cannot become competitive. So we as industrialists try to find a solution to this problem. And I agree with Ms. Asuman. Maybe we have to organize a workshop or else like enjoy incentives, like producers that manufacture in a boutique style. Well, uh, we want to supply the products in a timely manner. And as long as these products are manufactured in Turkey, the price scale can only be always be discussed, of course. But I do believe that we have to tackle the problem immediately. If not, in order to carry on our production in regards to long-term contracts, fixed in terms of fixed dynamics, we will continue supplying these materials because our purpose is to manufacture vehicles. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, just like Ms. Asman has mentioned and you have mentioned, maybe with the contribution of the government, stakeholders should come together to define on the purposes, targets. I mean, for instance, this year, like 1 million ton of plate is going to be sold. So, but I don't know the grade whom I'm going to sell to. And then you would even have a fight within your facility because the person who does the production planning would then start fighting with the salesperson because the standard material production is much easier and they could achieve their targets much faster, better. So in my own time, the automotive sector was a problematic one. And when I say problematic, I mean, they always used to fight inside the facility. So why? I mean, it lowers the production, but with those qualities, we started exporting and it benefited us a lot.
Biz bunları tabii ithal olarak almak durumunda kaldığımızda rekabetçi fiyatı
When we buy them as buyers, either there should be a quota structure that could be exempt from the taxation, or else there should be a differentiating point for our country. After the pandemic, when you have a look at the world, strategies all around the world have changed. China couldn't use automotive materials and send them to Turkey and Europe, but right now they're able to send cars. Yes. Maybe they're able to found a factory in Turkey or else in Europe. Well, thank you. Okay, Mehmet, let's continue with you. I'll talk about exportation because you are an expert in exportation, right? Total steel exportation decreased this year. And from a steel producer perspective, can you please evaluate the whole supply chain, including logistics and shippers, everyone, when you evaluate them once again? What can we emphasize so that we can increase added value production? If there is anything that we could do, what should we do? Because we have been talking about added value production to increase exportation. We should produce added value, produce products so that we can increase exportation. You mentioned indirect exportation previously, and this is also included in this category. Do you have such works? But I'd like to correct something. Far Eastern production was 6% in 2022, but I forgot about Japan to include it, but now it is higher than this. The steel share of Far Eastern countries in steel industry. Well, they should, of course, get a profit, but there's no one that exports 50%. China, they say, China, what should China do? They are going to drop production. They would eliminate surplus of production, but none of them was realized. They were talking about green steel, etc. They were talking about a lot of things. What happened? Well, everybody wants to get a pie out of this cake, share out of this cake, but export cake doesn't grow. between 400 and 450 million tons. It's been like this for 16 years. It's never gone to anywhere else. We're going to make the share bigger. It is not happening, but we have to make it stable. And there's also indirect exportation. Well, here on the indirect side, the cake is growing from 100 million tons to 360 million tons. And you are not sold steel, but you are sold machineries, automobiles, and other equipments, because when these are also sold, you are sold steel. Well, Suman has also mentioned this, and Gökhan Bey has mentioned this as well. We have to work together like in a workshop. Added value production has two sides, like chicken and egg. If you want to produce something with added value, there should be an industry consuming steel, because you're not going to produce steel just in vain. There should be a consumer base that can use these products. Otherwise, let's produce it and export it. No, nobody's going to buy it from you. It's not one-sided way. So you have to have a collaboration with the industry, and this indirect exportation should be increased. So as a company, what do we do? Well, as a company, well, they have done this actually. I'm new. I'm saying that, oh, we are doing this, we are doing that, but I've been there for like 5 months, 3 to 5 months. There is a steel service center which was never seen. All the cut ones, all the punctured ones are ready. And according to your wish, a galvanized production facility is also established. And there is a line that gives everything in a ready-made and packages everything. But can you make the whole production like this? It's very difficult. It is not possible to make everything added values. Such huge amounts is not possible as well. Turkey has to work on this. But when it comes to the second part, in the exportation, if we say this, okay, let's sell to this market because this market is good. Let's sell to the other one because this is closed. With this strategy, it's not going to work anymore. In the markets that we are in, we have to be continuous. If we are in European market with our warehouse, storages, distribution places, we have to be continuous. Otherwise, we will be temporary while the prices are appreciated. We are not going to get a permanent market share from these countries. So in order to increase our exportation, we have to change the way that we do exportation. So we need a more detailed work. It's always mentioned in the meetings, in the association gatherings. We need a superior mind so that the plannings are done accordingly. Yes, we need a structure. So individually, it's not done by companies just by themselves. So the state, one way or another, should be involved in this process. Otherwise, it's not something that could be done. But the state should be guided by us because they don't know the real kitchen. If you guide them, it's going to be a democracy. Otherwise, it's going to be a dictatorship. But dictatorship can also solve these problems. Okay. Okay, thank you. Yes, someone has to solve these problems. That is correct. With this mutual dialogue, some problems should be solved. Let's talk about the users. My last question goes to you. There is instability in the steel market, and this instability puts the end users into a difficult position. They can't make long-term plans. They want stable sector players, but at these times it is even more difficult for them to take decisions. Even though there is turmoil in the sector, for the steel users, what could be the most appropriate strategy for them? When you consider increasing inflation and disruption on the supply chains, what can you say? Like we have mentioned previously, working together is essential. Exportation markets. Before talking about them, there's internal market, right? Yes. there's this internal market. In the internal market, we should be gathered together with all the users and make a plan for a while. Maybe can we give some safeguards for the sellers? No, it doesn't happen, right? Because when there is $10 cheaper importation offer, people chase after them. This is what they do. But when it comes to solutions, what would you like to say? Well, again, thank you so much for this question. Well, each and every company can have their own means of operations and ways of carrying out their works. So automotive sector attaches importance to stable production and development, and as company, we do this. In the post-pandemic period, managing these supply chain risks required some swift actions, and we took those actions. And the share in the cake was broken into pieces in order to manage the risks more properly. But we have strategic partnerships, and automotive spot materials are not very much preferred in our sector. Spot materials are not appreciated. The important thing is to find strong partners, go on in a long-term plan so that your terms should be under guarantee. And my recommendation for end users is that they should work with strong companies and they should develop plans accordingly. Yes, it's nice, but we have this differentiating feature compared to other sectors. In the beginning, we have discussed this as well. Automotive sector develops its supply resource as well. It includes global players. It plays globally. So we produce our products, and when the automobiles are assembled, 80% of them are sold to EU, are exported. 95% goes to EU. So we have to be implementing these rules together. So there is this common sense, and in line with the strategic partnerships, they should create their structure. Okay, Mesut Bey, when it comes to white goods and automotive sector, they have 6 monthly or yearly agreements, but hot rolled or coated sheet metal producers can't have 6 month or a yearly agreements. I think these conditions should be changed as well. In the past, we were doing this. Yes, it was in the past. For 6 months, prices were stable. Yeah. Okay. Can I ask you something? Well, Asuman said it very righteously. Pipers or galvanized people can't have long-term agreements because they do back-to-back business mainly. But this is my recommendation to all companies. It is not like you have to buy from the low price and buy it with high price. It's not like a spot market. If you buy materials from each and every level, when the producers see this, they don't want you to lose. They try to do their best in order not to create any losses for you. Well, the points and peak points. Well, in the past, hot galvanized prices were normal, but right now they changed tremendously. It's inaudible. In Russian war, just within a month, prices increased by $600. Well, these are the things that we are discussing. Here it is $1,500. In the United States, it's around $2,000 hot sheet metal. Let's say, okay, there's an order. I'm a hot sheet metal producer, and okay, I have an agreement with you, Asuman, let's say, and inaudible, it is 600, okay, let's say. But 3 months later, I would deliver your order, but something happens, like a war or something. All of a sudden, it used to be $600, but right now it's $1,200. Now, I wouldn't sell it to you at spot because there are people who pay this money. I wouldn't give it to you. Your order is not $600 anymore, but if you give 600 more, then I could give this to you. But did I say this to you? Is this my thinking? Well, to put it bluntly, as Çolakoğlu Metallurgy, I definitely understand what you have said. In the past, it was $400, $450, $600. Yes, but no matter what happens, if you agreed on something, it's that. That's it. There is 10% flexibility in some companies, but this is not valid for our company. And I'd like to conclude this. Well, I've made 20-year price analysis. It used to be 285, then it went up to 1,200, but on average, it's $600. $600. Yes, this is the average of 20 years. But prior to this, each and every meeting I say this to you. I sold hot sheet metals for $245, and my manager told me that can't we decrease this number? He asked this question. According to him, $240 was too high, and I said, Inshallah, it's not going down. And it went up to 280, 380. After China intervened in the situation, then things started to change and the price started to increase. Well, actually, prices are not based on the cost. Demand is the main determiner. Unless there is a demand, nothing could be made. You sell it in any ways. Or else, if you need a finance, sometimes you sell it below than the real cost. But sometimes there's an opportunity. You can sell it with higher profit margins. But I'd like to make an addition if it's not going to be an advertisement during my career. When the prices drop all of a sudden, I receive offers from Çolakoğlu, and my manager told me that we should do the moral thing. We should pay more. Well, you've seen this during earthquake. No. When the prices dropped, you bought it from the higher prices because it was the initial agreement. No, the opposite could happen. No, really, I don't believe in this. No, it happened. My manager appreciated in this way. It was their decision while we were not going in this way. Okay. Okay, your forecasts about the future. What is the biggest risk for future? What are their effects on the market? What would you like to say? Do you have plans for these risks and finished products and profit margins? What do you expect about them? Please just tell us your ideas. You could just make up something. Kürşat. Maybe, yes, we can start with Kürşat. Kürşat is closest to you. Okay, Kürşat. Well, the biggest risk is green energy. What is it? Green steel? What is this? Well, okay, do not exaggerate it. We're going to dye the green, this is the steel to green, and we're going to sell it. Well, in the conferences, it is only mentioned just to mention it. That's the reason. For the sake of mentioning it, that's it. Yeah, there could be some people who might have some severe projects, serious projects, but it is not encompassing everybody. But in Turkey, it is disregarded a little bit because it is just the opposite of our approach. It requires a lot of money. As long as state does not help, we can't do it by ourselves. As Çolakoğlu, we have a team. We work about this carbon-free and green steel, renewable energy. Yes, we have a study Currently, we are working on this. This is one of the biggest risks, as you all know. 2030, 2050 are very important for us. Blast furnaces in the world, 72% of all these places are blast furnace, and the rest of them are electrical arc furnace and DRA electrical arc furnace. Blast furnace can be transformed to DRI or other arc furnaces, but it requires some costs. So cost-related works are being done right now. And carbon neutral or low carbon materials, raw materials, are talking about scraps. Not only scraps, but other materials also should be low with respect to carbon, but their value should be high. These are big risks. And as far as I see in the future, in the Middle Eastern countries, I'd like to add this. Middle Eastern countries are going to have an advantage with respect to green energy. Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and in Oman, there is the rise. Their costs of production and energy costs will be very low. That's why they are going to have an advantage. And Australia and South Korea and Japan, they will also work on the formation of electric arc furnace. As Çolakoğlu, we are working on the green transformation studies. As of the 1st of October 2023, they were registered, and in the upcoming years, financial side of it will be ready. And of course, we are learning right now. Slowly but surely, some things have started to change, and you have to be close to the states. You have to work with the public authorities. This is the risk that I see. And because of the increasing materials costs, the dynamics of the market can change. Another risk is that Typhoon Bey has mentioned this. Financial risks could be very troublesome, and inflation. Yes, we are dealing with the inflation. Yes, with the high interest rate policy, we are going to decrease the inflation. When you have a look at the industrialists, they buy raw material from you, and they buy money from the banks with 50-55% of interest rates, and expecting them to sell new products is not easy. Financial risks are the huge risks for the upcoming years. Okay, thank you. So at the first place, there are geopolitical risks, and secondly, the increasing demand. I believe this is of course, there is the CBAM, and European Union's criteria are very problematic, and economic turmoil, stagnations, and idle capacities will lead labor losses, and it will create social problems. And day by day, financing costs will be even higher, and at the very end, there's going to be a decreasing demand. So this will be a problem. So for the end user, if I'm to evaluate this, I can say that with respect to green steel, in order to decrease the carbon footprint, there are projects for 2028. Feasibility studies are being done, and currently in the feasibility studies, we see that some sheet metal producers have already given prices to their carbon footprints related works. Well, some people started way earlier than us. They are running right now. We are walking behind them. When we walk together with other stakeholders, we can see what they are doing. And in terms of development, I believe in the automotive sector, some things are going well. And in the upcoming days or months, the geopolitical situation will be very crucial, and it's going to affect the finance, trade, and displacement of money. And with the increase on the inflation, Europe is not accustomed to living with high inflation rates. That's why there are disruptions on the balance of between supply and demand. They can't decide whether to buy or sell. Compared to pandemic period, there's been 12 to 15% low rates on the automobile sector, and in the upcoming 6 months, this parallelity will continue. Energy prices, again, how do we get energy? With what methods? And how should we move on in the future? It's going to be very important with respect to pricing. Yes, energy prices will be important. And on the other side, competent personnel side, it's going to be a big problem for the steel sector and for all other sectors, just not specific to automobile. Unfortunately, the new generation might have different expectations. They will not stay in our country and they will try to chase after benefits, opportunities in other countries. These are very normal. They try to have better lifestyle standards. However, this information, knowledge, wisdom can't be reached very easily unless we utilize this knowledge. We can't do good for us. So training, education are important, and it's aftermath of the pandemic in all the sectors, including steel and automotive. Strategies and mentalities have completely changed. Steel producers, with their own margins of profit, want to sell products, but there will be capacity losses. They will close their blast furnaces to decrease their capacities. They're going to have different values at the end, but we'll see to what extent it's going to work for all of us. I can say that there's not an easy world to live in, but we have to continue working together for this country. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And very nice question. Thank you very much. So I think the biggest risk is that we are making this world unlivable. Climate change is the biggest risk that we have confronted. Maybe you have seen this 3 days ago, because of the sea level increase in this blue city of ours, all the city was in a flood. I mean, this is not a threat to our green energy, and inshallah, all the countries in the world can work on the green energy because we are we are polluting the environment. And as a company, we have a special department in terms of sustainability. We work a continuous work. For green production, we are going to do our best. This is our world. There's nothing that we can do. There is no place that we can go. So we have to do our best. And the earthquake is the biggest risk of our country. Ultimately, if one day it's going to happen. Unless you are prepared, it's going to be your problem, of course, because all our industrial zones are located in earthquake regions. 60-70% of our country's economy is located in earthquake zone. It's going to create a loss that we can't compensate. And I think this is the biggest risk. So we need to work in the long run for these risks. Other geopolitical risks and other stuff could be managed, but there's nothing we can do for these two risks. Yes, I agree with you. A week ago or something in Ereğli, there was a storm. In Izmir, there was this flood, and Iskenderun, another flood. I think these are related to climate change, right? Yes. Yes. Okay. Very well. 5 minutes. We are 5 minutes over our timing. Can we have more 5 minutes, or should I stop? Well, is there a question? Okay, before I conclude our session. Thank you very much. Rather than a question, I'd like to make a comment. This is a very complex, very up-to-date question you asked previously to our friends. There's something that they didn't mention. I'd like to take your attention to this point. This crisis is one of the deepest crises that we are experiencing. Exportation is decreased and importation has increased, and Turkish steel iron sector is at a very important situation. Capacity is not utilized. And there's something which is not mentioned. There is this cost profile in the steel production. Well, I am a person coming from the factory. I used to work just behind the arc furnace. Cost profile is a problematic one for us. In Anna's presentation, there was a graph she didn't complete mentioning, but I know this graph is on the websites of SteelOrbis. It gives the gross profitability of Turkish steel and iron sector. It was $25. The EBITDA was $25. $25 means 4%. $25. This is our profitability as a sector, and we all know this. Price is not determined by us. Cost doesn't determine it either. Our supply and demand determine this. We think that cost is untouchable. No, cost can change. Cost must change. This is a problematic one, which is specific to us. Let's think that there is a steel product and 65% is raw material and 85% of it comes from other countries.
And today, $375 scrap. But its price at the source is $300. So the gap was $75. So that is how we settle on the journey, set up for the journey, and we try to divert them to the exports market and try to compete against them. That is the first problem. The second one is the energy cost. Just think of it, in 2021, it was $55 per megawatt. And we broke a record in that respect. Today, it is $95. And because of electricity and natural gas prices, the whole sector collapsed. Another factor is that Ms. Asuman only mentioned about geopolitical risks. However, frankly to speak, there is this press runs, and we lost millions of tons of the United States market, or else the Egypt market, for instance. The geopolitical risks, it has got many definitions to that, but particularly in our country, because of the political preferences of our country, its impact on our trade and our international position has to be well evaluated, because on our sales, on our exports, that is an important factor. That is what we have to understand. And also not only the States, but with the exports that we get out to the European Union. How affiliated they are to each other. So another problem is volatility. Of course, it is not that discussed, but it is a structural problem. So we are importing such high amounts of scrap, but it's by cost and its manufacturing cost. There is a gap between the two. Another factor is, which is something totally unique to us, is the financing cost. Just think of it, $25 EBITDA per ton, and its net profitability is no more than 10%. And so looking at the listed companies' EBITDA, and so this is a financing model which is unique to us. And all these costs can be worked on, can be transformed. Looking at the political things aside, that's a different story. But in terms of what I would like to mention is that our industrial costs can be transformed, as I said, but the reason for it not improving is especially, I mean, this non-carbonization, decarbonization. I mean, whether this is an arc furnace or as integrated facilities is an opportunity according to it, especially for us to lower down our cost. It is an opportunity in that sense. Circular steel manufacturing is got much cheaper process costs according to an arc furnace, for instance. Its input cost, 5% of that energy input is waste. It goes to waste. So this is a sector as such, so which has been surviving for many years. So this waste is the subject to decarbonization, and with decarbonization, chemical energy, fossil fuel, instead of these, with the usage of green energy, green electricity, I do believe that costs could increase. So this is the opportunities ahead of us, which have to be well discussed. Green steel is not a risk for our country. On the other contrary, it is a great opportunity. And well, as a country, as companies, there are things that we have to do, and so these are all opportunities ahead of us. Thank you so very much. Well, I thank you indeed, Mr. Muammer. Well, what is important is because the cost is high in production and the steel production processes. You've given many examples in this respect, and that a change needs to be done in that respect. And in regards to green steel, the activities to be carried out will be of a great opportunity, so he mentioned. Thank you so very much. Well, yes. Thank you. Really brief, please. Yes. Well, I've got a question for Miss Asuman. So as a final user, during the pandemic, we had a lot of problems. We weren't able to actually properly set our prices. And then we had the Ukrainian crisis, we had the earthquake, and then there was, and then the prices increased, but still we made a loss. So how would you comment on the sectorial price increase? What did you discuss? I mean, so in diverting to import, I mean, because there wasn't a global reason, there was a sudden increase of price. So did this have an impact on people diverting to imports? Let me receive your sincere ideas. Well, first of all, when the earthquake took place, in all our producers, I mean, they gave them utmost effort actually to quote the lowest price I saw of. So there wasn't any opportunist price that I saw there. But the only thing was that, and our Chinese producers said that they would do the loading immediately because we had to compensate the loss because we had previous orders that should not be delayed. And also we had to immediately place containers. But from $900, we bought products for 4,500. Yes, but I'm only referring to the ones that were used for container manufacturing. And actually, first of all, they started working for the earthquake region. And the price increase actually does not actually make import advantages. And there is this misunderstanding. I do not agree with this at all. Because of the earthquake, we did not have price increases. On the contrary, the import cost was really convenient, and the domestic price, I mean, almost without making a profit, actually, they gave us the products. But I don't know about other prices, of course. I'm only referring to the products that were used in the affected region. But we should not forget that in the United States, the prices went up to $2,000. So no producer is an opportunist here, but this is a matter of demand and supply that determines the price. I mean, the more higher the demand is, of course, the higher the prices become, but you manage that really well. And we, Astrolocal Metallurgy, actually, including other iron and steel companies, we also contributed to that and spent the utmost effort. It's not that, okay, there is earthquake and let me sell my goods for 1,400, because at the very same time was 2,000 actually. There was a plate exported to the States. So, I mean, I just wanted to make a remark here myself. Yes, I would definitely actually be investigating on that. But I mean, as far as I know, there wasn't any advantage taken. Okay, thank you so very much. Well, again, we've come to the end of our panel. Well, thank you so very much. Hope to see you in our next meeting.